Hey everyone, we are back and we're going to look at what the traits of a civilization are. You need this in your notes. It's not really a pieces guide, but it will be in a second. But here's the main things you need to know about what a civilization is. Post-Neolithic revolution. Neolithic, remember, this is a time that they're moving to agriculture. And once you move to agriculture, you have these different traits of a civilization. And here they are. You're going to make a bulleted point list. So different traits of a civilization, and here we go. Maybe we're not going. Here we go. Okay, so they're near riverbanks. Traditionally, in this period one that we're looking at, obviously our first four civilizations are held by riverbanks. In the future, they're not, but they do have to have access to water. Another trait is that they have food surpluses. So if you have a surplus of food, that means that you're going to be able to have people do other things. They're not going to be focused only on farming, which leads us to the other things. We're going to start settling in one area. We're going to have urban centers. We're going to have cities that are going to emerge. We're going to have monumental structures. We kind of said that. Monumental architectures, big buildings. Think back to the Pieces Guide where we were talking about like Washington, D.C., these different structures. Or coming up soon with Egypt, the pyramids. We have specialization of labor. That means that people work different types of jobs. And so not everyone just has to go focus on hunting and gathering, but now, because we have a food surplus, we can have different types of tasks that people work on. Which means that we also then have, this is a good AP word, social stratification, which means that there's a social hierarchy. That means we have some people that have more power, other people that have less. And so as people start working different jobs, people start thinking certain ones are more important than others, which gives you different social status. Another trait of civilization is that there's gender roles. We once talked back in the Paleolithic times that their gender roles were very egalitarian, meaning that people were very equal. But now women and men have different roles. Diverse people are mixing. There are different kind of cultures running into each other. And then they're going to be involved in trade. And this time we're going to look at Mesopotamia first. And who did they trade with? Complex religions, again. If you're noticing, these all kind of fit into the different pieces, don't they? So this fits in as a cultural thing. All of them have written language at this point in time. And so we have different types of written language that come out. They have an organized government, the P in pieces. And then also we see arts and architecture being something, maybe intellectual development. So they all kind of fit ultimately. If you're thinking, what's the traits of a civilization? Think of, ultimately, pieces. But these are the different ones. If you have to know anything from period one for the AP test someday, this is pretty much it. So we're going to look at Mesopotamia real quick, and you guys have the link to the John Green video with the crash course, but we just want to make sure that you guys have the basics for your pieces guide. Now, Mesopotamia emerged around 3500 BCE, before Common Era, to about 300 BCE as what we know it today. Now, Mesopotamia literally means between the rivers, and so when you're looking at this area, we are talking about what many of you guys think of as the Middle East. And so you can kind of see on this map here, like what do we know about the environment? And so you can see just from this map that there's certain areas that are a little greener, if you will, less desert-like. And so this was a really fertile area. It's going to be known as the Fertile Crescent. And there's two main rivers. You can't really see, you can see the rivers on here, but the Tigris and the Euphrates. And so this is in modern-day Iraq, and so when we're looking, this is kind of where we are at. So the environment here, very fertile when you're thinking about the pieces guide, E, and for environment, we know that it's a very fertile area, and this is where we're talking about for geography for Mesopotamia. Now, one of the first cities was Sumer. These are all city-states, so it's not like they're really an empire quite yet. They just kind of are these almost like little their own countries, but they're really just cities. They're not that big. So Sumer was one of the world's first cities around 3000 BCE, and you can see on the map there, we're looking like we're getting close to the Persian Gulf. It was a city-state. It had an absolute ruler who was a king, which is something you probably could put on your pieces guide under the P. And then we also see in Sumer one of their big accomplishments since they came up with the wheel, which would be an intellectual development that you could write down. So that in early Sumeria, this is this area, you might have heard that before, Sumer is the actual city. And so they had a city-state with this absolute king, as we see here. You can look more in this area as we zoom in. We can again see the Tigris and the Euphrates River flows into the Persian Gulf. We're in modern-day Iraq, and that's where we are. So those are some other city-states you see in that area as well. There's our wheel. Then you want to know about the Babylonian Empire. This is when they're moving beyond just having their own little city-states, but kind of building together an area. And you can see that on the map on the right, that this became a pretty big area in the Middle East, all of Iraq into modern-day Turkey, etc. And so when we're thinking about the Babylonian Empire and we're looking at this area that became quite big, meaning they're conquering other people, we have a few things we want you to know. One, you need to know who Hammurabi was, which is kind of a big deal, kind of in the political makeup. He ruled all of the Mesopotamian area. He made kind of a central taxation system, a centralized government, and the big thing that he's known for is creating the code of law known as the Code of Hammurabi, and we'll look at that when the school year starts. There's pictures of him. I quite frankly think he looks kind of like a Star Wars guy, or maybe more like Pirates of the Caribbean. So, kind of see it. Either way. So the Code of Hammurabi, I actually visited this when I went to the Louvre. It doesn't mean a lot when you're looking at that, but we'll look at an English translation later on when we meet for the year. And then another area you need to know about are the Hittites, which are going to be a powerful empire in Anatolia. Anatolia basically is modern day Turkey, but they call it Anatolia for a long time, and we'll keep that kind of coming back. But the Hittites are going to be this people that are kind of, riches of the Babylonians drew in the Hittites. They're the outside group, so they're like, you know what, they got money there. We're coming in. And so they conquered the Babylonians in 1595 BCE. They're known for their chariots. So they came in, kind of dismantled this great empire back in the days of Hammurabi, took it down, and that was kind of the end of it. But they're known for their chariots, so they took the technology from Sumer and then was able to kind of build on that. And so we see this area. You need to know, again, the area that we are in, Mesopotamia, between the two rivers, the geography of this area. We've seen some of the political makeup here. We've seen kind of some of their intellectual developments. But then you're going to be good to know about this area. And this is going to be, again, one of our teams. So hopefully you can grab some more information out of the crash course. But this should help you get the basic notes and the basic pieces of Mesopotamia. We'll see you soon.